If you copy this Google Ads strategy, I can almost guarantee that your business will blow up. What I'm about to show you is the best Google Ads strategy that I have ever used. I haven't seen anything come close to this in the last 4 to 5 years. We took this brand from $0 in ad spend, $0 in revenue, to over $7,000 in spend, over $46,000 in revenue at a 6x return on ad spend. And the craziest part is this all happened in just 30 days. So I want to start by stressing something really important. The 3 campaign strategy that we're using right here will eventually be expanded on. As we continue to grow this account, we're going to add layers to it, but I'm going to show you how we got this off the ground and achieved an amazing result from day one. Our blue line right here is our total spend. We were spending $150 a day. We cranked that all the way up to around $400 per day. And then just recently in the last few days here, we moved from around $300 to $400 all the way to $600-700 and floating now around $500 per day. So we are still trying to increase this spend and achieve a similar return on ad spend. And you can see here in the red line that our revenue actually follows. We started off pretty slow, pretty bad, and then it significantly increased when we did a few big changes that I'm going to break down right here. And that's when we went from a return on ad spend average of basically 0 all the way up to the 7-8 range, which we've been consistently at for the last 2 weeks. In fact, it's been so good over the last 14 days that our return on ad spend is at a 7.35. Okay, so starting at the top, this 3 campaign strategy breaks down into 3 different buckets. The first bucket is our branded search. This is the easiest thing to set up, but it's a huge tweak from what we've ever done in the past. Previously, anytime I talked about branded search, we would always talk about a traditional branded search campaign. Now we are using AI Max. In our branded search campaign, we now have the option to enable something called AI Max. Starting from the top, we're setting our marketing objective to sales. We're clicking no networks for these search network or display network. We don't need any wasted spend. Our budget is going to be set small at first and grow as we continue to grow the brand presence. In this case, this brand already has a decent brand presence, so we're spending $150 per day. Our conversion goal we have for account default, but just make sure you're only tracking one conversion. And in our case, we're tracking the Google Shop app purchase. We're not counting add to carts. We're not counting initiate checkouts. All we care about is purchases. For our bidding strategy, because this is branded search, we want to run target impression share. With target impression share, we have the ability to tell Google how much in terms of percentage do we want to show up in the first spot in a search result for our branded name. Now, putting this very simply, if you don't bid for a target impression share, Google is going to overspend on some keywords. Target impression share allows us to cap how much we're willing to spend on our branded terms, which we do very aggressively here. So what I like to set here is absolute top impression share, which is the #1 spot in Google. We then set a 95% impression share to target, meaning we're going to try to show up 95% of the time. And then we set a $2 max CPC bid limit. Now, this bid limit is going to have to change depending on your category, depending on how well known your brand is. In this case, at $2, we still achieve 95% of the impressions. For customer acquisition, we have this off. We don't care if these are new customers or existing customers. In other campaigns coming soon, we do actually care about that. And then we have no value rules set. Here's the big change. This is the big strategy change that has completely honestly boggled my mind in just the last few months here. Just a few months ago, Google announced AI Max. And what AI Max does, in short, is it replaces what was typically known as a DSA or dynamic search ads campaign. Now, to keep this simple for everyone, there's basically 3 features of this that matter, and they're not the 3 features here. There's a hidden feature that you need to know about. First, Google has the ability to expand your keywords. We don't care about that. What we care about is matching keywords to landing pages. So you can see here, easily expand your keywords with broad match technology and let Google AI match content from your landing page and assets. This is going to make sure that if someone types in your branded name plus something, that in most cases it matches to the correct landing page. Like if you have 1,000 products and someone types in, for example, Home Depot refrigerator, we're not going to drive them to the Home Depot homepage. We're going to drive them to the Home Depot refrigerator section. AI Max does that for us. It's a branded term matched with a category. The second thing is AI Max tailors your ads to keep them fresh. The key of this is that Google AI will serve the most relevant ad copy and landing pages to each customer based on their unique interests. This is a very big difference than what's performing the best. What this means is that even if headline number 1 performs better than headline number 2, I might see headline number 1 and you might see headline number 2 because you're more likely to react based on your interest to headline number 2. And the third thing about this campaign is not this third bullet, but it is in fact that we could set brand inclusion lists. What this is going to do is it's going to keep Google on track better than ever before to actually spend your money towards your branded name. Now, you can't see the brand I'm using here, but I have a branded list of all my brand terms in this brand inclusion. The key of this brand inclusion is it keeps everything refined to just our branded terms, ultimately minimizing the wasted ad spend. Another important adjustment that I like to make is asset optimization. We turn on text customization and final URL expansion. This again is going to send traffic to the most relevant places, and it's also going to allow Google to make modifications slightly to your headlines and to your primary text. Now that's going to be a little scary for some people. Google's ultimately going to be allowed to use text from your website and change your ads accordingly. The very simple version of this is that I have seen this work better and therefore we use it. And I've seen better return on ad spend by using both of these, text customization and final URL expansion. Moving on down to our additional settings here, there's actually not too much going on here. We're setting our country to our normal country. We're making sure our location options are just presence, not presence or interest. That's going to waste about 3% of your ad spend if you do that. And then down to the next setting that matters, dynamic search settings. Now, we do not enable this because we have AI Max on. However, if I didn't have AI Max on and this was a non-branded campaign, then we could technically set up DSA. Okay, so that is our first campaign. That's going to cover all of our branded search terms across the board. The key here too is that when you're inside this campaign in your ad group, you are going to have to set up your exact match and even your phrase match terms based on what's most relevant to your brand. So put your brand name in there, put misspellings of your brand name in there as well, and just make sure generally you're hitting your most important terms. Don't get crazy. This could be a list of 5 or 10. In this case, we have a total list of just 7 terms that we use that cover the entire brand. By the way, as a quick aside, if you've ever seen any of my videos before on Facebook ads or e-commerce in general, then you've seen them on a totally different channel. This video is on a brand new Google Ads only channel. So if you are focusing your brand on paid search, then hit that subscribe button. It means a whole lot as we begin to grow this channel from zero again. Back to the video. The next campaign in this strategy is a branded shopping campaign. Now I've seen over and over and over again branded shopping be this confusing point. Let me explain why branded shopping is so critical. Basically, a branded shopping campaign is set up just like a normal shopping campaign. So when you go to set up this campaign, you are in fact selecting all of your products. You're doing everything normal, just like a normal shopping campaign. The key difference here is you do 2 things. First, you set your target ROAS very, very high. A ROAS that is so high that it could only be achieved by hitting your branded terms. For example, using that Home Depot example again. If you're Home Depot and someone types in Home Depot, you have a much more likelihood to A, convert on that term, and B, get a really high return on ad spend on that term. Versus if someone types in department stores near me. That is a completely different search, and we don't want to include that on the branded side. So what branded shopping is so good at and why you have to put these parameters around it is because if you don't, Google is going to overspend in different places. We set our target return on ad spend very high, in this case 500%. We bid equally for new and existing customers, and we do not set anything on our campaign priority. That's important in just a minute. And then when we go into our actual ad groups, I like to break these down by different categories within the business. Now, don't overcomplicate this. Don't worry about having 30 different ad groups. For me, in this case, we have about 8 different ad groups. You can have 2. We have some accounts that just have 1 and throw everything together. It's not overwhelming. It doesn't need to be crazy. The important part about this campaign and how you optimize this campaign is you go into the search terms. And when you're in these search terms, what you want to do is you want to look for any overspending on your branded terms. So I'll show you an example of exactly how I would optimize for this. What I would do is I'd look at a 7-day period and I would put in all of my search terms in this filter that are my branded name. So if I'm Home Depot, I put home, I put depot, I put Home Depot, and any misspellings of those words. Once they're in there, I click apply. And what that's going to do is it's going to filter everything that's on my branded names. Then I'm going to click back in again and click does not contain. So now I'm going to see everything that's not my branded terms. And once I do that, I can now see all of the spend that's going to non-brand. And the easiest way you could approach this is by just selecting all of them and adding all of these as negative keywords. Now, sift through these, make sure they're accurate, but generally speaking, we're going to be excluding anything that's not our branded terms. Now, what this does over time is it teaches this Google Ads algorithm to only spend on your branded terms that are the most relevant, that drive the highest return on ad spend. And you can see from this account right now, in the last 7 days, the non-branded terms spent $55 and they drove 2 conversions. The branded terms spent $393 and drove 40 conversions. So you're always going to have a little bit of overlap. You're always going to have a little bit of mess in this. And that's only because there is no perfect way to exclude and include branded terms in shopping campaigns. So it's a little bit of a fine line that you need to monitor. But once you get in the flow of it, ultimately, this becomes so refined that only a few percentages of ad spend are actually wasted. And the good thing is that waste is going on non-branded terms that are actually acquiring new customers anyway. So it's very low risk. Now, the third and final part of the strategy is our non-branded shopping campaign. Now, before you just say, oh, he's just running 2 shopping campaigns and an AI Max campaign, I'm going to explain the additional campaigns that we're going to be adding in the next 2 weeks here. And the important part is this is just the base. So the non-brand shopping campaign is focused on full non-brand activities. No one that types in your brand name, no one that has even heard of you before. And the way that we set this up inside the settings is we focus it all on new customers. So first things first, we always set this at a target return on ad spend. In this case, we have a very low target of 110%. Now, we're actually achieving above 110% and we're trying to scale this, which is why it's so low. But generally, the easiest way to set your target, set this to your break even, because in the worst case scenario, it achieves your break even. In the best case scenario, it continues to elevate over that break even and get you a higher return on ad spend. The second piece is customer acquisition. We are only bidding for new customers. And then the campaign priority, this is the only case where I set this to high. The reason I set this for high is because it will not interfere with the other shopping campaign that we have active. If we did not set this for high, then those are technically bidding on the same floor. We want those to bid on slightly different levels, which is why we set this for high. Other than that, there are no complicated settings for this campaign. Just make sure in your locations, you're setting your presence, not your presence or interest in. Now, there is an important part here. Because this is an account, we are literally starting from scratch, from zero. We're advertising everything and we're breaking this out into categories. Now, this is a really easy thing to do. You just take your categories, you decide, hey, these are my 5 or 6 categories, or even my 2 or 3 categories, and we plop them into different ad groups. At first, this is a simple and even great strategy just to get you off of the ground. But the key thing that everyone needs to understand is, what do we do after this? What do we do after this 30-day period? How do we continue to build on the account? Now, that could be another 45-minute video, but the thing that I really want everyone to know is that there's 2 big things that you need to do as early as possible. First, you're going to want to create a Performance Max campaign that is focused on the 20% of products that drive 80% of your revenue. To do this, you can create a new campaign, click Sales Campaign, make sure you're using your purchase event, go ahead and click Continue, and change to a Performance Max campaign. Make sure you select your correct merchant center, and then go ahead, name that campaign Performance Max as you would expect. In here, to start the PMax campaign, you're going to set this to conversion value without a target return on ad spend. But eventually, very quickly, once this gets a few purchases, you're going to shift this to a target return on ad spend. The next piece is we're going to acquire new customers only with this, and we're selecting down here, only bid for new customers. So for these campaign settings, the things that actually matter are make sure you're actually targeting your location. So we're targeting the United States in this case. These are not EU political ads. And then as we go down a little bit further, you're going to see brand exclusions. In your brand exclusions, you are going to select your brand list. Now, in this case, I'm able to upload my brand list right here, which has all my branded terms. We do not want to bid on any of my branded terms, and therefore we could let this sit right in here, and we are not going to select allow shopping ads on searches that mention excluded brands. Moving down, all of these settings can stay the same, at least at first. As we go on through this, you're going to want to create your asset group, and you want to max out your asset group. The thing that everyone gets twisted here is that they focus too much on the assets, they focus too much on the primary text, etc., when the real most important thing you need to focus on is making sure that this right here, all products, changes to just use a selection of products. And that selection that you're going to choose is your top 20% of products that have driven the most revenue for your business historically. So then after you set up that Performance Max campaign, now comes refinement and optimization. The big key here that everyone needs to do, everyone needs to focus on is after you have a PMax campaign, you're going to have a lot of overlap. So you need to start to make sure you're excluding certain terms, excluding certain products from your shopping campaign and from your Performance Max campaign. So you are constantly refining the ad account to just focus on the products that actually drive the most revenue. So look, overall, this simple strategy has been epic for us to start this new account. There are so many other strategies out there that I'm going to be sharing. And if you haven't noticed by now, if you've seen other videos of mine, they've been on a different channel. This is a brand new Google Ads dedicated channel. And if that's of interest to you, click that subscribe button down below, and I will see everyone in the next video.